What's up, everybody? Welcome once again to the Poindexter Lounge. My name is Enosh, aka Enosh Fett, along with the lovely as I adjust this.
Tiff-tastic.
That's right. And tonight is the night we're talking about Aquaman.
Which is probably backwards in the video.
No, it's not.
Okay.
On the video, it's live. Whoa. So.
Apparently we have something going on with our couch.
Oh, wow. Okay. We're sagging here. So lots of people watch this so we can buy a new couch, I guess. Anyways, so here's the deal, guys. We saw Aquaman
Yes, we did.
last week. I've seen it twice now, and I love it.
Yes.
I love it. That's all I got to say about that. Video's done. All right, we'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for joining us. No, just kidding. So here's the deal. So we decided to wait a little while to give you guys an opportunity
Yes.
to watch the movie and to see it for yourselves and to form your own opinions. And so now, boy, this camera is acting weird on me today. It is not in the right spot. There we go. Just seems like it's so far away. Seems like it's like, doesn't want to stay up. Okay, so talking Aquaman, Tiff,
Yes.
your initial thoughts on Aquaman.
It's a whole lot of awesomeness. I loved it. I love Jason Momoa. I love the storyline. I just love what is going on right now.
This couch thing is like kind of weird, isn't it?
It is.
It is.
I don't know where the issue is.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know. So we're going to readjust here. Hold on a second. It's live, and that's what we're just going to do. So let's go ahead and readjust here. I don't know what's going on here with this.
Looks like maybe... Oh, it shifted.
Okay.
And fell down to the ground.
All right. That's okay. That's all right. We're all good. We can adjust. It's live. What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do?
Keep knocking the camera over, apparently.
I know, apparently. Okay. So, anyways. So, Tiff, what is your initial thoughts on Aquaman?
I thought it was awesome. I loved the storyline. I loved the people that they got to portray, you know, all the characters in the movie. I thought the humor was awesome, the action, the animation was so-so in some parts, but it wasn't something that took me out of the movie, and it wasn't something that brought down the just overall feeling that I loved the movie.
Yeah. What did you think of Jason Momoa?
I love Jason Momoa. He is perfect for the role, and I think he has made him just kick butt again. I mean, not saying again like I don't know if he ever was, but he made it awesome to be Aquaman.
Yeah. I sat there the entire time, my first viewing, just sitting there thinking, how crazy is this that I am like really enjoying an Aquaman movie right now? I mean, Aquaman has traditionally kind of been the butt of jokes, and rightfully so for a lot of
I
for a
can
lot of
talk
reasons.
to fish. I can send them to help you.
Exactly. But, I mean, but that of course is based on an older version of Aquaman. For the last quite a few years, Aquaman has been very much a strong character. What's up, Jason? What's up, Jason Hobb? Glad it was good. Have you seen it, Jason? Have you seen the movie yet? But like I said, Aquaman, I remember the first time I heard an Aquaman joke was probably the mid-90s. There was a show on MTV called The State that was really funny, and they had this skit with the Super Friends, and all the Super Friends were kind of standing there, and they all had something important to do. Superman had something important to do and was giving orders to the rest of the Justice League, and Batman and Robin had to go do something, and Robin had to go do something, Wonder Woman had to go do something important, and The Flash had to go do something important, and then they get to Aquaman, and they didn't even say anything to Aquaman. They just all kind of start to leave, and Aquaman says, "Hey, what about me? What do I go do?" And Superman says, "I don't know. Why don't you just like go talk to some fish?" And that was the first time I ever heard that joke, and that's kind of stuck for a long time, as Aquaman had that kind of persona. But DC has done a great job over the last few years in changing that persona of Aquaman to be one more of this kick-butt king of Atlantis, demanding respect. And I mean, it kind of started, they cut his hand off. And I think that's probably something that we'll see later on, especially with if they bring Black Manta back. Now, look, we are saying this, and it's in the word, it's in the title. But we are going to be talking about spoilers. We're going to be talking about the movie as if you went to go see the movie with us. All right, so just fair game right there. Spoiler warning.
Spoiler alert.
That's the one you're gonna get. All right. So, and again,
Because
this
you
thing
have
just
the
keeps
cord.
falling. All right. So that was the thing, right? So they had Black Manta cut his hand off, and he had a hook. Man. Okay. There we go. Sorry, guys.
It's the cord.
Sorry,
Just
guys.
undo the cord.
I know. But they had him. They had him with a hook for like the longest time, and then they gave him a water hand. That he had this like water.
What's a water hand?
It's a hand made of water,
Ah.
but it was like magical water or
that
whatever.
was
Yeah,
magical
it was
water.
it was a thing there for a while.
Huh.
But he grew his hair out. I've had a lot of people, especially because we talk a lot about DC, and there's a lot of people honestly who they just don't know. There's a lot of people who make judgment calls about DC that they just don't know. They just don't know. Jason says, also glad someone at DC finally learned that underwear goes on the inside. I will say this, Jason, and we encourage anyone watching. We want dialogue. That's what this is. This is not just you watching us. We want to talk to you guys. We want to hear your opinions and your thoughts on the movies and things like that. So here's the thing about that. Because I just watched a whole discussion about the whole underwear on the outside thing. It's not underwear though. You know what I mean? It's like it's part of their costume. And one of the things actually that the DCEU has brought out is that these outfits that they wear are actually the inner parts of armor. If you watch Man of Steel, watch Man of Steel, Superman's uniform that we see as Superman's uniform was actually the undergarment. The whole thing was an undergarment actually for the Kryptonian armor, right? Because Jor-El wore that, Zod had his armor, and that was all an undergarment. And it's the same here with Aquaman.
The only reason Superman only had to wear the undergarment is because he's indestructible, so he didn't have to wear any armor, so he just wore the undergarment.
Exactly. But the same with Aquaman. Aquaman wears the king's outfit, but also that was a garment that was under the Atlantean armor. And so it's kind of an interesting take because the whole thing then would be underwear, I guess. But it's been really cool. Long underwear. Man, it takes me back to being a kid wearing underoos. Did any of you guys wear underoos when you were kids? They make adult underoos now, and trust me, it's all that I can do sometimes not to just order a pair of underoos. Yeah. So there you go. But no, so it's just a thing of DC has done a really good job with Aquaman bringing him back, where they've turned him from this kind of squeaky clean, just kind of blonde character, and I was getting ready to say, there's a lot of people who've asked me about Aquaman. Yes, I'm going to bring this closer here. All right, so there's a lot of people who've asked me about Aquaman because, like I said, people just don't know a lot of times about who these characters are, and for a lot of people, their experience with DC characters is like the 70s and the early 80s Super Friends, right? And so they see them as maybe cheesy or as those characters, and like especially with Superman, a lot of people they don't understand that Superman is who he is now. They see him as he's Superman, and Clark Kent is this bumbling idiot kind of nerd guy because that's the way Christopher Reeve played him. But the reality is really that was never Clark Kent.
Yeah.
If you watch thanks, Jason. But if you watch the old, like even the 1950s Adventures of Superman with George Reeves, and yes, there's Reeve and Reeves. George Reeves played a very cool Clark Kent. Like he was
Suave.
Yeah, he was like for the 50s, man. George Reeves, he was like on point. Like he would always be kind of sarcastic with Lois. He was not a bumbling nerd. That was one portrayal of the Clark Kent character. And Christopher Reeve did that amazingly well.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I think he did it so well that he kind of burned that into people's minds that was who Clark Kent was, right? And that's who that character was. And so now for generations, it's not that he didn't do a good job. It's not that Christopher Reeve was a bad Superman, because Christopher Reeve, to me, I just look at Christopher Reeve and I see Superman.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from Henry Cavill, because now I look at Henry Cavill and
That's
I
my
see
Superman.
Superman, right? So it's just there's different portrayals, but that's what I'm saying is like some people they just have gotten this notion that that is who one character is, and the same thing with Aquaman is that Aquaman is just some joke of a guy who just
Ocean nerd.
yeah who just talks to fish, and you know what good does that do anybody? When in reality, he's king of Atlantis. He's got a power set that is very much on point with, say, Superman. I mean, because their bodies have to be able to withstand the pressures of the ocean. Somebody asked me, he's like, well, in that opening scene, he's bulletproof. What's up, Guardian FID? Or the Guardian FID? Or FID? Welcome. You saw it, and you saw it twice and loved every second of it. Absolutely. In that opening scene where he jumps down into the sub, and he's bulletproof.
Yep.
I had people ask me like, he's bulletproof? I never knew Aquaman was bulletproof. And then there's some kind of discussion about the fact that like Atlanta, his mother, has a wound. Well, that's because Atlanteans can only be hurt by
Yep.
Atlantis or weapons made in Atlantis or undersea weapons. They cannot be hurt by surface dwelling weapons, and so that makes sense. That's why he gets stabbed right in the chest by Black Manta,
Yes.
and he's okay. So I really like what DC has done here, in the fact that they took a character who's been misunderstood, underrepresented in pop culture,
Yes.
and they really turned it around to be something cool. I mean, just as you
Well,
said.
kind of like Doctor Who. I mean, some people who may have not known a lot about him, we were able to watch a movie and kind of get the story in the background and
You mean
everything.
Doctor Strange?
Or Doctor Strange, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's
Some
all right.
kind of doctor, I don't know.
That's right. You always get your Doctor Who and your Doctor Strange mixed up. That's all right.
I didn't watch either one of them, but it's
Yeah.
still one of those things that I learned a lot more from the movie because they did such a great job telling the storyline of something that I wasn't very much aware of.
Yeah.
And I think that they did a great job with that with Aquaman, because those of us or those of the people that may have not known the storyline, where he came from, what he, yeah, he was, a human father and a, Atlantean mother, and just, but just what he went through though too, because he wasn't, or what they call him, a half-breed, because
Yeah.
he wasn't like from, so.
Yeah. Well, and and I'll give this to Marvel. Marvel's done a really good job of making me care about characters that I didn't really care about before. And I think that goes across the board really for that, because when you think about it, like nobody was, I mean, there were some people who knew who Iron Man was, but nobody was some big Iron Man fan, at least on, like a bigger basis,
scheme.
right? On a bigger scape like that. And then, same thing like you said, Doctor Strange, another one. People might have known who he was if you were a real comic book nerd, but other than that, no. Guardians of the Galaxy, real fringe stuff right there.
Groot, Rocket, all them, Drax.
And we've talked about it a lot of times here on the channel that like when that first came out, or I saw it was coming out, I thought, this is going to be it. This is going to be Marvel's first dud, because who's going to want to watch an animated raccoon and a tree?
And
It
Groot
seemed
was adorable.
it seemed silly. But then once I saw what they did with it, they did an amazing job with that. And it's good to see DC doing that. Branching out and doing that. And I think that, I'll tell you what, it makes me feel really good knowing that with Aquaman being as good as it is, I really have high hopes for Shazam.
Yes.
I'm not worried so much about Wonder Woman, because we've already had a good Wonder Woman movie, and we know that they can do.
We know what they're capable of.
Yeah, we know what they're capable of, and Patty Jenkins is back directing that, and so my only concern really about that is, and it's not really a concern, but it kind of is, and that is the fact I love Kristen Wiig.
Oh yeah.
We both love Kristen Wiig.
Yes.
I like her as a comedic actress. I loved her on SNL.
But to see her as a serious role.
Yeah, I'm really wondering how they're gonna play Cheetah.
Yeah.
In this movie, and but
They could surprise us, and she could just kick butt, and we can see a whole nother side of her.
yeah, and so I don't really have a lot of worries or concerns about that. That and how they're gonna bring Steve Trevor back. I don't know how they're gonna do that, but otherwise,
Sleight of hand. We thought this was happening, and this actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Time travel, something.
So we know that that's going to be good. And everything so
he
far.
also was taking a bath or like chilling in that like well of like stuff.
That's true. That's true. I think that may play into it, that he
Maybe
took
that's
that.
what helped
Yeah,
save
he
him.
took a soak in the Themyscira hot tub. There it is. It was.
In the hot tub.
Get in the hot tub. Oh. So yeah. So but with this Aquaman movie, I love. Okay, so he jumps down into the sub, and we meet Black Manta for the first time, and his dad, and that was an interesting dynamic. What did you think of the fact that like Black Manta's dad is like encouraging? Like it was kind of a weird.
It was like he was teaching him how to pirate better.
Yeah.
It was a weird thing.
Yeah, so they got like some kind of military background, yet and he gives him the knife, and so you find out where the Manta name comes from. I thought that was pretty cool. And then
because his grandfather was in the war and he was the one that fought. And
but had a falling out basically with his country, and so that was a cool backstory thing. And then I thought that first initial battle. I love how Aquaman drops down and he says something about like because obviously Black Manta has known about Aquaman, and he's wanted to meet up with Aquaman, and Aquaman's just like, should I know you? Like, who are you? You know, I love that. That was great. A lot of humor, and I know there was a lot of people. There's some people who have really kind of harped on the little segments where like it would like Aquaman would be standing there and they do like the little musical cue, and Aquaman would be like, you know. I thought those were great.
Yeah.
I really liked them. The only thing in Aquaman that kind of got on my nerves a little bit were the jump explosions.
Yeah.
I will say that. I turned to Joe the first night that I went. My friend Joe Wagner took me actually to the Amazon showing, and I still owe him $10. But so he took me there, and a lot of jump explosions. Did you guys notice that? I mean, the jump explosion. It was kind of funny because like James Wan is a horror movie guy. I mean, he's written and directed
It was his
the
way
Conjuring.
of saying, haha, I'm still gonna make you jump even though it's not a scary
Yeah,
movie.
exactly. It wasn't a jump scare. It was just a jump explosion. It'd be like, yeah, so you know what's going on today? Boom! You know, and everybody get exploded. Get exploded, yeah. Was it as good as we? I don't think I understand that. Was it as good as what? Anyways, we'll come back to that. But no, so there's the jump explosions, but then I love the fact that Aquaman kind of takes it right to Black Manta. They have this fight. Black Manta's dad comes in, shoots him. And he's like laying there on the floor. And he's like, what's he say? Something like, oh, that hurt or something like that. And
ouch.
Yeah, it gets back up. Wonder Woman. Okay. Jump explosions for the win, says the Guardian. Yeah. So do I think it was as good as Wonder Woman? I hate to pit two DC movies against each other. This one just seemed a lot more fun, though. See, I loved Wonder Woman for completely different reasons.
Yes.
What do you think?
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, it was a different time period. It was a different, it's a man versus a woman. It's all these different things. She's from Themyscira. He's underwater. He's, fighting the two different worlds. I think they're both right up there because, Wonder Woman was kick butt. She had compassion. Now, Aquaman had compassion.
Yeah.
But he had the humor. He had the kick butt side. He had, he was fighting the feelings, with his dad and what they did to his mom. And so he just had a lot of baggage, and not more so, I guess, than you would say that Wonder Woman did. But I think that they both stood apart from each other, but yet still were cohesive in the story for DC.
Yeah. Plus, Wonder Woman had a lot of realism.
Yeah.
Based in the war and everything.
And Aquaman had Atlantis and sharks with freaking laser beams.
Which I thought was really going to take me out of it. Honestly, when I saw the whole thing in the trailer that showed the sharks on one side and
actual
the
horse,
seahorses on the other side,
alligators,
and I was just like, Oh man, but you know what? It's kind of like the Guardians of the Galaxy thing.
Yeah.
It worked.
It was the fantasy they brought to life that was awesome.
Yeah, well, and even the octopus. You know, I've heard some people like there was an octopus playing drums. Yeah, that octopus is actually one of is an actual character that's been around for a long time in the Aquaman comics.
Yeah.
I know his name and I just can't think of it right this second. But he's been around for a long, long time and has. It was good that they actually included him.
Yeah.
Back into
It was a cute little cameo.
back into the mythos, and it was only there for like a half a second. And if any, and look, in Ant-Man, they got an ant actually sitting at a drum kit playing drums.
Yeah.
I thought it made more sense to have an octopus
Yeah.
just banging on drums than to actually have it like an ant sitting at a drum kit. Let's see here. Guardian says, love both, but this one was more fun. Wonder Woman was more tragic, but outstanding. Exactly. Yeah, Jason, I will say this, man. It's right on par.
Yes.
Both movies are like neck and neck.
For different reasons.
Like the Guardian said, they're just two different kinds of movies. Where Wonder Woman, yes, was more tragic, had all this. It was still kind of set in that seriousness that DC is.
Yep.
A lot of times. This one had serious moments. Aquaman had serious moments, yet it had a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of fun, a lot of great jokes, a lot of.
But the jokes came at the expense of, like, say, Orm when he was trying to fight him, and they're like ripping on each other, and
Yeah.
So I mean, it was well placed.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely go see it, Jason. You will love it.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I want to see it again, and I can't wait to own it already.
Oh yeah, it was just phenomenal like that. I like how, and I was watching something about this. I love the character design of Orm
Yes.
against Aquaman because they actually did it on purpose to make Orm look like the traditional Aquaman with the blonde short hair, and then make Jason Momoa, he's got kind of some blonde highlights, but he's got
Sandy
the
blonde,
he's got the long hair and everything, and looks a little more ethnic. They did that on purpose to make Orm look that way. And honestly, I didn't even really think about it until the very end, where they're standing there at the end, and I went, "Oh my goodness!"
Well, that was
he
when
looks
they
like
were
traditional
when they
Aquaman.
were above water, and
Yeah.
his hair was just kind of like disheveled, and it was blonde. It looked like the cartoon, or like the character from back in the day. But underwater, he had what looked to me like a blonde French twist, which was kind of different. But it's like the guy who plays in The Conjuring anyway. It's like he's got brown hair, so the blonde hair threw me off a little bit. But I liked the character he played, and he played it well.
I like Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Nicole Kidman making her return to the DC universe. She
Yes.
was in Batman Forever. I liked her in that movie too. For some reason, I had a big old crush on Nicole Kidman in Batman Forever, man. That was just a really good time for Nicole Kidman. Nicole Kidman looked really, really good back then. And she was in another movie too at that time. I don't know if you saw this one, Tiff. It was like she played like a teacher or something like that. And she had like an affair with like one of her students or whatever. I'm trying to think of the guy who was in that movie with her. He was in a lot of 80s stuff or whatever, but yeah, so she looked great in that movie too.
I thought
and
Willem Dafoe looked awesome with the de-aging technology.
Wow.
His character was great.
So let's talk about the de-aging technology, because both of us felt kind of the same way. So you got Tamara Morrison, who played Jango Fett. The Guardian, yep. She looked great as his psychiatrist in. I feel you, Jason. And actually, it's kind of interesting because Namor is one of those rare instances where the Marvel version came before the DC version. In most of the superheroes that you see where they have a similar power set, or you have like similar things going on, the DC character came first, and then Marvel kind of copied on that. But in the case of an underwater character, kind of an Atlantis connection or whatever, Namor did come first. You know, so I totally get it if you're more into Namor. Namor though also has a completely different personality. You know, a completely different. He's a completely different character, as far as that goes. But I think with this movie, what was cool to see was I liked the way that they explained Atlantis. They
Yeah.
explained where Atlantis came from, how
How it
Atlantis
was above
fell.
ground. Yeah, how it, I was
Yeah,
to say how it fell.
how it fell. You know what? One of the best parts was right there at the beginning for me when they explained, because so far all we had seen was like these little shots here or there underwater where it was dark and it was like you couldn't see things very well, and it was like, man, how's that
Make
gonna
for a
work,
rough
right? That's
movie.
gonna make for a rough movie if because when you're actually in the ocean, if you've ever been under the water in the ocean and you look out, you just see the darkness of the sea even during the day, right? What I loved was they explained how Atlanteans, their eyes adjust and they can see all that. Thank you, Jason. I appreciate that. You know, that's what we do around here. I have been a comic book fan my entire life, and just a superhero fan, and I love all things. I love all things nerd. I'm a big Star Wars guy, and superheroes, and so that's why we have the channel here. That's why we call it the Poindexter Lounge, because
It's a place for nerds.
that's right, and we just love hanging out and talking about stuff like this. This is stuff that I love talking with people about, and so I appreciate you guys being a part of this and being a part of the channel for sure, because that's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make a place where we could have interaction like this and talk with people about stuff, and hopefully I love it too, because we have people here on the channel when we do like our Flash reviews and things like that for the show The Flash and different TV programs and movies and stuff. I love it when people come into the chat and I learn stuff, right? Things that I didn't know before or realized before, because maybe it's a character that I just didn't follow that well. I love hearing from other people and learning stuff. We got Caleb, who pops in here all the time, and man, he is just great on DC knowledge, and
Plethora of knowledge.
we just love going back and forth like that. So hopefully, you guys are able to get something from us, and we're able to get something from you, and that's just what we do, right? So it'd be like we're just hanging out. Um, the production team did their homework for Aquaman. They sure did,
Yes.
Marcus. Uh, you know, that was one of the cool things, because there was a lot in Aquaman that honestly just a lot of people didn't know was part of Aquaman's story. You know, because a lot of the things that I've heard from people is like, well, why did this happen? Why did that happen? And it's like, if you read the comics, you know, that's the one thing I will say, okay, about that kind of annoys me sometimes about people who are just like diehard Marvel fans sometimes, is that I was never a big Marvel fan. I loved Spider-Man growing up. I was a Spider-Man kid for sure. And the Hulk, I loved the Hulk growing up. I didn't really read those comics, but I remember them. And I remember like some of the things that I remember are like when they first introduced Venom and the black suit, you know, Spider-Man. And I still have my comics from when those came out. So I remember those things, but I didn't read a lot of Marvel comics. So when the Marvel Cinematic Universe started, and say I went to go see Iron Man, I thought Iron Man was a great movie. But there was a lot about Iron Man that I didn't understand, that I didn't know. There were things about Guardians of the Galaxy that I definitely didn't understand or know, and just little, you know, Easter eggs here and there that were thrown in, or little story points or whatever. And like you said, Doctor Strange. Never read a Doctor Strange comic book in my life. Went to go see the movie. I did a little bit of homework before I went to go see it, just to kind of read up on the character and know kind of what to expect, and it was fine. And then what I didn't know or didn't understand, I went to my friends who are Marvel fans, because I've got friends who are Marvel fans through and through, and I learned about those characters, right? Like I remember growing up, I had a buddy, I was a huge Superman fan, he was a huge Wolverine fan, right? And so we would talk about it. He collected Wolverine, and he would tell me on a weekly basis what was going on in the Wolverine comics. And I would talk to him about what was going on in Superman. And so we both kind of gave each other knowledge that way of the characters. So when the X-Men movies started coming out, I knew what was cool, what wasn't cool, what they were doing with the characters, whatever was happening. What I find sometimes with the DC universe is that sometimes people see stuff in a DC movie, and instead of saying, "Oh, well, what is that?" they'll go, "Well, that movie sucks because they didn't explain it." Not realizing that, or not even thinking about the fact that a lot of Marvel movies don't explain everything about a character. You have to have some kind of comic knowledge or seek it out or ask somebody. But for some reason, there's this bias, I think, sometimes against DC movies that if we don't understand something, it's got to be the movie's fault or the director's fault. It's not just that we should ask. I mean, I remember when Batman versus Superman came out and they showed the Omega symbol in the ground in the nightmare sequence where Batman was having this premonition or nightmare that Superman was going to turn evil and everything, and all of a sudden everybody, I knew a lot of people actually who were losing their mind going, "What is that all about?" And then when I would tell them, they'd say, "Well, why didn't they put that in the movie? They should have explained that in the movie." It's because it's a plot point that is a premonition about something that may happen in the future with Darkseid. And the Darkseid's coming because the Omega symbol is his symbol. He has the Omega beams that he shoots out of his eyes, and those are something about apocalypse. But I saw people losing their cool about it. And I think the thing for comic books is if we don't understand something, ask somebody.
Or read up on it.
And I know that comic book fans can be real kind of snooty sometimes. Mom, you don't understand that. Well, you need to do that. I mean, it's the same thing for a lot of fandoms, right? I mean, somebody mentioned Star Trek here just a minute ago. Jason, you mentioned Star Trek. I love Star Trek. I've loved Star Trek since I was a kid, man. I remember when Generations came out. I went to a 15-hour marathon and watched all the Star Treks. But I mean, I have vivid memories of being a kid and watching Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. Knew that movie back and forth by the time I was 4 or 5 years old. Actually, yeah, I was about 5 years old. So there's just stuff like that. But if you don't know something, ask a question. And if you run into somebody who doesn't want to give you answers, well, then fine, move on. But I have conversations with a lot of people because I'm such a DC fan. People who don't think they like DC or they have issues with DC, and it's funny because by the time we get done having a conversation, they're actually like, "Oh, well, I didn't understand all that stuff. Thank you so much." Or Star Wars, for example. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I have a whole room in my house dedicated to Star Wars, and we have a Star Wars bathroom. And as you can see up here, we've got the TIE Fighter up there. This is our living room, folks. So we're big nerds, and that's our life, man. That's what we love. And so, so I would just say, don't be so quick to just say that something sucks or whatever because you don't understand it. Seek out some knowledge. Do some research, right? The Guardian says some people just can't read between the lines and have to have every single detail explained to them. Common sense people, absolutely, and I agree with you.
You have to have spoon-fed comics.
Exactly, I mean, and that's what makes, I think, a movie good. If a movie just explained every little thing in detail to you,
it would be boring.
It's.
You gotta have some imagination and let us think for ourselves. And
yeah, I don't want that. But I think the problem too is we live in a world now where people just want to go in the movie and they want to talk during the movie, and they sorry, lost you for a second. Somebody tried to call me there, but they want to do everything else except for watch the movie
and pay attention,
right? And so, that's the thing is that you got to pay attention to stuff. If you want to know what's going on, you got to pay attention to that stuff, and it's not necessarily because the movie just sucks. I think that's a cop-out. But I love Nicole Kidman in the movie. Did you like Nicole Kidman in the movie?
I thought she was great to play his mom. I can't imagine anyone else playing her as well as she did. So.
What about that fight scene in the beginning?
That was kick butt. The fact that she's sitting here and she's pretty much telling Jango Fett, "Here, take the boy. Let me go grab my trident and kick butt." And,
yeah.
But I didn't expect. Well, I did, but I didn't want to deal with at the beginning of the movie. Oh, by the way, now you have to take care of him because I have to go back.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was good.
But she kicked butt, and I thought that was awesome.
So we briefly touched on the de-aging stuff. What did you think of the de-aging stuff?
I thought it was good for some and not for others. I loved what they did for Willem Dafoe, because Willem Dafoe's been in acting for a long time, but the way that they did his de-aging, I thought it looked like we were watching a younger version of him, just like
Yes.
they did Samuel L. Jackson in previous movies. But when it came to Jango Fett, I wasn't as it reminded me of Clue in Tron.
Yeah.
It was very like animated, and it just didn't seem as natural. But it didn't take me out of the movie so much that I was just like, oh, I hate the movie because
Yeah.
Jango Fett doesn't look normal.
Yeah, it wasn't
But-
awful. It wasn't awful. It was just that you could tell that something was going on
Where
there.
with Willem Dafoe, it didn't seem it was streamlined. It was seamless.
Yeah, yeah, you could tell
So-
that something was going on. Something was going on there.
Maybe it's whatever you're plugging it into. Out
Yeah,
there.
I think I got a bad
Maybe flip it on the
extension
other side.
cord. Looks like it's burning.
Right.
We're trying not to
Down
cause
here.
a fire here at our house. With hold on a second. So yeah, I agree with that. There were parts that were really good about the animation, and there were some parts that were kind of cartoony.
But you're gonna have that with any kind of animation. My brother has a degree in it, and it's like you can have one thing that can just be phenomenal with animation, and then there's other things that just they I don't want to say they fall flat, but they just aren't as well done.
Yeah.
And it all depends on the animator. It depends on what kind of scene you're trying to portray.
Yeah.
And you were trying to get a younger version of him, so sometimes they don't age as well, or it's harder to take the line. I don't know what the actual formula is, but sometimes maybe it's a little different for different people's faces, the lines, the way that you have to animate.
Talk about Mira for a second. I'm gonna go get a new extension cord so that we don't lose power. But talk about Mira for a second and what you thought of her as a character in this, and like just like the way that they progressed her character with Aquaman, because we know that they end up together. So yeah, talk about that real quick, and I'll be right back.
Okay. Well, I thought that the character of Mira was awesome. I thought Amber Heard did a great job, and I thought that she was perfect for that role. And same with Dolph Lundgren playing her father. The red hair was pretty awesome, I thought. But I thought that she did a good job. They did a great job with her storyline, because I feel that it was something that you could see that they were maybe around each other a little bit as kids, or maybe she noticed him because of her being from Atlantis and him being from land. But I thought when they finally did kind of meet each other and get to know each other, and she's trying to explain to him, look, there's a big problem going on down underwater. I need your help. You are actually probably more of a king than Orm is. So I thought that was something. You could really see the camaraderie. You could see the I don't want to say the attitude, but it was like a brother and sister thing at first. They were fighting. It's almost like when you're little kids, and it was you're pulling the pigtails of the girl that you like. But yet she showed her strength when Orm tried to start that war and bring that to the surface, and he was driving his dad from the bar, and he sees that this is happening. He knows that he can withstand whatever's going to come, but his dad's human and he can't. So when he does finally get the car in the water, flips the car, and he's like searching frantically for his dad, I thought it was amazing when all of a sudden it's like you see this wall of water stop, and she's the one holding back the water to try to save his dad. So she's already trying to help him. But I think the camaraderie it just kind of reminded me of like Indiana Jones-ish, because it was like you had the smart aleck, and you have her who's the smart one who's trying to she's like, oh, she breaks the relic, and he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, what, you didn't memorize that? What did he say? Something about trident water or something. And she was the one that knew exactly what the map was, because she had photo picture perfect from what's going on. But I thought that she did a great job. I would like to see what they do more with her, how they progress her character. But I thought it was cool just even to see how they started off, like the brother and sister fighting, like picking on each other, to at the end you're like, yes, if they're not going to be together, they need to be, because I thought that, the way that they progressed together, the way that she went against her father just to try to get him out of that fight with Orm, it was just a bunch of different things that were very cool. And again, with her father, I thought that Dolph Lundgren, I thought he was a great choice to play her dad. Kind of cool seeing the red and the gray and, kind of, showing his age. But I did think, personally, that he seemed to be the waffling king, is what I called him after the movie. Because it was almost like during the movie, it's like, yes, we've gotta keep Atlantis together. And then the next time it was like, no, you're right, Orm, we gotta fight. We gotta take this war to them. And then all of a sudden it's like, my daughter is saying something. Oh no, you're right. Let's go back to, he's the rightful king. He did what he was supposed to do. Let's follow him as the king. Yeah. So I did think that Dolph Lundgren was a waffling king, but I thought he was perfect to play her father. And I can't wait to see going forward what they're going to do with that and with the different characters that they did bring forward. And, I personally thought at first, not knowing the full story of Aquaman, I was wondering what they were going to do with Willem Dafoe's character, just because I didn't know. At first I'm thinking, was he a bad guy? And, not realizing that, yes, he was with the king, but then also he was trying to help raise Aquaman to the Atlantean way, with still trying to be, faithful to Orm, because that was supposed to be the rightful king, but yet this is the one that he saw because he appreciated Nicole Kidman's character. So there was just a lot, I thought, that, just character development that they can just expound on in the next movie.
Yeah, and, I liked seeing their chemistry together. I've seen some things that people said that they didn't like their chemistry or whatever.
Loved it.
I really enjoyed their chemistry. I thought that they did a great job with the chemistry between Aquaman and Mera. I like the fact that she dropped the name of Steppenwolf.
Yep.
So they acknowledged, they didn't go over the top, but they acknowledged.
Because she knew of him.
Yeah, that they acknowledged Justice League and what had happened, and so,
what he had done to help
Yeah, absolutely. That was good. Hold on a second here. Sorry, guys.
Some technical difficulties to make sure that the phone doesn't go off in the middle of the thing. There we go.
Did that work?
I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be. Possibly.
I don't know what happened there.
Guardian said, I can't read because you're usually the one that reads from that side.
Oh, yeah. I thought they had great chemistry.
Yes.
Yeah,
so did I. Was not too.
I'll tell you what, I'm about ready to get you a red wig.
Red wig and some green spandex.
What's up, how you pronounce that? Ghoul Girl says, I saw Aquaman, it was amazing.
It was.
And that's the thing, is it's gotten a lot of really good traction.
Yes.
It's done almost $500 million already.
That's awesome.
Worldwide.
My man.
Whether or not that holds up, I mean, it beat both Bumblebee and Mary Poppins at the box office this last week, which I was shocked by. But Bumblebee, tomorrow night we're going to be back right here doing our Bumblebee review.
Spoiler review.
But
you had the weekend to see
the stream will self-destruct in 5 seconds. Thank you. We're usually a lot more together. I don't know what happened here tonight. We got furniture. We got furniture messing up. We got electrical issues. I don't know what's going on. But Mary Poppins had a very soft welcoming where people didn't seem to really, I guess, get into that. We're still going to see it.
Yeah.
We still want to see it, but it didn't get the kind of reviews that they really wanted. And so Aquaman is just taking full advantage of that. I mean, it's already opened overseas. It opened overseas before it came here, so I don't know how much more it'll do overseas. But, some people are saying, oh, it could do $1 billion. I don't know if it'll do $1 billion. It'll have to definitely do a whole lot better here in the States for that to happen. But yes, Guardian, we will. We're gonna hold off so that we don't do both reviews in one video.
Yes.
But there are some things that I gotta talk about in a spoiler discussion about Bumblebee.
He lost his mind in the first 5 minutes.
Oh my goodness. Anyways, So, Aquaman. Uh, but the whole thing in general, I thought was really really good. That the action was good.
Yeah.
And
Fight
then
scenes,
then you have the fight scenes.
underwater, because that was the one thing we were wondering during Justice League. She kind of made the bubble so that they could talk.
Yeah.
So we were wondering, how are they going to do that underwater? But it showed, when he was little, it's like, wait a minute, we can breathe and talk underwater. This is awesome. So it was kind of cool to show that as a kid.
And speaking of Mary Poppins, the original Mary Poppins, the real Mary Poppins, voiced the creature there at the end where he has to go and try to get the trident. That was cool.
Julie Andrews.
Julie Andrews, yes, Julie Andrews that was really cool. I love her voice. It was just really just kind of haunting and just.
I was gonna say it was haunting.
Cool.
It was like sweet but yet maniacal at the same time.
Yes.
It was like it made you it creeped you out a little bit.
Yes.
It's cool.
So very, very cool stuff there. And then he gets the suit. He comes back. He fights Ocean Master. There's this huge battle. We talked about it. There was this movie was like a combination of the good parts of a lot of different movies. So you had, it kind of combined the good parts of the prequels to Star Wars. Okay? Because
with the animation of the underwater.
Yeah, with the animation and all that stuff and the battle scenes and stuff, especially the ending battle, all that. There was a couple of parts that looked very much like Tron Legacy.
Along with some of the music through it too.
Yeah, where you finally get to see Atlantis. Yes, the trench in the last 20 minutes.
Those creatures were creepy.
So there was that. There was another movie too that we talked about that it looked like
I can't
that reminded me
remember
of.
right now. Maybe we have to go see it again.
I know, darn, we'd have to go see it again. The prequels, and Tron, and man, I wish I could remember what the third one was, but it was like the good parts of those movies, right? The best parts of those movies that really just made it shine and just look really cool. And then and I'll just say this, I want one of those trench creatures because I think if you cracked open one of those claws, that's like the size of my house.
That'd be some good eats.
That's good eating right there. That you put some drawn butter on that, man, I could eat for quite a while off of that. But I love how he comes up at the end out of the ground. Oh my goodness, and just kicks butt. The only thing that was a little weird, and I get it, I like the pause, but it's one of those things. Aquaman and Mira are making out, and people are dying all around them, right? Stuff. Probably not the best time to make out, right? I mean, I like to make out, but if everybody was dying around me and stuff,
I feel a little bad.
I don't know. And I saw that little butt grab. We saw
underwater butt grab.
We saw that little butt grab yeah, we saw it. Go Momoa. So there was all that. You know what other scene I really liked? I really liked the tidal wave scene.
Yeah.
That was so cool. Where he looks off and the tidal wave is coming in towards the beginning, and
that's what I was explaining when his dad, because he knew he could make it, but he knew his dad couldn't, and so it freaked him out when he was like, "Dad," and that's why when Mira held back the wall of water to try to save him. He
gets reunited with his mom, and there were some things that we all knew was telegraphed. We all figured his mom wasn't going to be dead.
Yeah.
Right. But it was cool to see him reunite with his mom. Yes, you're right. Aquaman controlling everything, including the trench. That was
cool.
It showed why he was king.
But it also showed too, it's more than just the 50s and the 70s of him going, I'm going to talk to fish. I mean, when he hit that trident and that thing, reverberated, and all of a sudden everything just he commanded that, you could feel just yeah, he's the king.
I like that he was able to not only talk to the aquatic animals, but that it wasn't that he just controlled them. It was that they understood him, he understood them, and they had this... Guardian says, Mira is kissable at any moment.
When people are dying or not.
I can understand that. I can understand that. True that. So I like the fact that he was able to communicate with the aquatic animals, and there was a respect there that they wanted to help because of his respect for them. So that was all good. And then, at the end, I know for those of you who watch John Campea or whatever, John Campea mentioned that he didn't like the fact that Queen Atlanta, she had a change of clothes at the end, where apparently she got changed, before she came up after the final battle, which the final battle between him and Orm.
Well, she had the original one on anyway. She just had all that extra stuff on to stay alive in the trench.
But
Anyway.
she had like a dress on, like a flowing dress or
Oh,
whatever.
that one,
And
yeah.
so it's like all these people are dying and everything, and she didn't participate in the battle. She kind of went and got a new change of clothes or whatever.
I'm gonna see my man for the first time in forever. I want to make this look good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Jason, I agree. The CG water effects, they all looked really good.
One thing I thought was awesome is when you had Orm fighting Aquaman, and he's like, "Oh, I see you have our mother's trident," and then when he goes to do that, he like slices it in half. But yet when Aquaman gets the main gold trident that becomes his, he just like annihilates Orm's, and it was like, "Yeah, here's some shards of yours now."
You'll like this one. Ghoul Girl says, Jason Momoa is kissable at any moment. Never mind her.
True that.
So there you go. You got two really
Alright.
good looking people there kissing at
They're
any
gonna
moment.
make some hot, sexy kids.
There you go. There you go. Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah, like I'm willing to
Some redheaded, tattooed. No, okay.
all my disbelief went right out the window there, guys. Don't.
I agree with Gold Girl.
Yes. But the fight at the end where he does the spin thing that he was taught, but
When Willem Dafoe is like, when am I
Yeah.
gonna learn this? When you learn to, work this trident.
great stuff. And here's the thing. I heard some people complain that, Orm kills all these people, he does all this stuff, and then Jason Momoa, Aquaman looks at him at the end and says, hey, when you're ready, let's talk.
It shows his humanity that he wants to believe in people.
Exactly. Even the people who are beyond what we would
Even
think.
his half brother that is like evil and.
Yeah, even those people. When he starts doing the water shield with the trident, exactly, yes.
Kick butt.
But yeah, for him to say, look, that's his brother, right? And so, it'll be interesting to see where that
It's kind of
goes.
the Thor Loki thing, where it's like he's evil, he's bad, but yet he wants to still think that there's some kind of good in him, and so. But that brings it back for him to either be the bad guy or for them to cooperate together in the next one or something. So it leaves it open
right?
for.
Yeah.
However they want to.
So I really like. Yet they still take him away because he
did wrong.
He did wrong, and so I thought
his
that
bad.
was good. Here's the other thing I really like, and I meant to mention this earlier, but with but bringing it back full circle because Black Manta obviously shows up in the end credit scene. But with Black Manta, for example, he created Black Manta. I mean, he was already a pirate and he was already all that stuff. But the fact that
what he did to his dad
he
is
didn't
what,
save his dad, and I remember thinking that with the first time I watched that, I thought,
it's gonna come back to bite him in the butt.
But I love the fact that not only did it come back to haunt him, but he acknowledged it.
Yeah.
He actually acknowledged it. It was one of those times where actually talking about what happened was good because he acknowledged the fact that he had basically created this rift between him and Manta because he did not save Manta's dad. He allowed Manta's dad to die, and that's something that a hero doesn't do. Even if they're a bad guy, that's not what you do. And he acknowledged the fact that
He just pretty much said, "You caused this. Now you gotta."
that he
deal
messed
with it.
up, and then he had to deal with it. And so, so there was that, and then
But it
that
shows the human side of him, where it's like, okay, I'm not this hero that people are trying to make me out to be.
Yeah. And also, I actually like the scene where the biker guys come up and they want to get a picture with him, and
Yeah.
was it a little telegraphed? Yes. Was it a little kind of silly
It was
because
so cute though.
was it kind of silly because like somebody, if they really just wanted a picture, they would come up like, "Hey, fish boy," or whatever. Like, right? I get all that, but you
then
know
he
what?
winks at his dad like, "What? Wait, watch this."
But you know what? With each photo that got taken, and it just gets sillier and sillier, and Aquaman goes from being like all to all, smiling and laughing and stuff. It just worked. Even the silly things in this movie just seemed to really work for me. And they seem to be working for a lot of other people too, because people who have not traditionally enjoyed the DCEU like we have are coming on board and saying, "Hey, I like this. This is a good new start for the DCEU." Now, if they can just make a Superman movie with Superman being full-on Superman in this same kind of lighthearted caliber, I think people are going to be happy. But we need to hold on to Henry Cavill.
Yes. Henry Cavill is my Superman hashtag.
Yeah, I mean, there's good stunts, there's good sets. The one little thing I remember when they're standing on the dock, you could tell that they were on a soundstage.
I couldn't the first time, but I wasn't paying attention to something like
You
that.
know, there's on a pink phone, exactly. They got the pictures on a pink phone. That was just great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like you could tell, like when they were on the pier there, the little pier, that they were on a soundstage, and that was all CGI and stuff. So call me old school, but I like to think that, you know, like
You wanted more practical effects.
if you're gonna show a scene where you're at the water and whatever, that you just
go to a real pier.
Just go film it, right? But you know, it is what it is. I did lean over to you though in the opening scene where Atlanta destroys the house with everything and fights and everything. What's up, Caleb? We were just talking about you earlier, bro.
Go back. He made a call out to you.
So, but I love that first scene where where Atlanta fights the soldiers and everything, and like the house is just getting wrecked, and I made a farmer's insurance joke. Said, "Yep, we were there. We are farmers." Bump, ba dum, bum, 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 bum. Explain that one to your insurance company.
Exactly.
That a bunch of Atlanteans came in and attacked your
all kinds of tech and just blew up your house.
Queen of Atlanta wife and your half-breed son. Good luck with that one. Good luck getting them to pay for that one. But
I don't know what kind of insurance that would be.
Yeah, but that was fun.
Accidental
I just saw Caleb.
Atlantean?
Caleb says, "Hello, can I get a best DCEU film yet?"
Heck yeah.
So here's the thing. I would say that. I really loved it. It's really great. We were just talking about this earlier, Caleb. Somebody asked which was better, this or Wonder Woman, and we both kind of said, a lot of us here in the chat said that we both kind of felt it's kind of neck and neck, but Wonder Woman was a serious movie, and it was kind of a tragedy, had this tragicness to it, where Aquaman was just fun and silly and everything. For me, I love both of these movies. I love both Wonder Woman and Aquaman was a roller coaster of fun, and I loved it. But for me, it's still the movie that started it all. Man of Steel, to me, is just an awesome movie. I know it's controversial, and I know that there's people who just really don't like that movie. But as a Superman fan, as somebody who's read the Superman comic books for years, and knows what that character really is, and I know everybody says, "Oh, I know the character," and blah blah blah. I just got into a discussion with somebody today that for some reason thought that they knew the character and loved Superman Returns, which, yeah.
I love Brandon Routh better as the Atom on Legends than I ever did as Superman.
Yeah. But
they didn't add a movie.
Man of Steel, man. Man of Steel is just the Superman movie that I always wanted to see, and it just always will be, because it showed his humanity and shows Superman starting out and being that character, and so I love that. And but man, this one, Aquaman, and yes, the opening fight scene with Nicole was one continuous shot. It took them 3 days to get it done.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yes, great comment there.
Is that from Caleb?
No, that was The Guardian.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
plethora of information from people today. I love it.
That's why I love this. Caleb says, "I'm still surprised the guy that does Are You in Good Hands insurance commercials hasn't done a superhero movie yet."
Exactly.
Me too, actually, because I mean he kind of has that. I've always kind of considered him. What's the one guy? He was in The Equalizer. He was in Flight, the drunk pilot.
Oh yeah.
Denzel Washington, right? So Denzel Washington, I always considered that guy from those commercials to be like Denzel Washington light, right? That he was kind of like the other version of Denzel Washington. Yeah, I'm surprised he doesn't. I'll tell you what, he would make a pretty cool Jon Stewart, older Jon Stewart. Yeah, my money's on Dark. He would make a good Dark Side. You know what? I take it, but the thing is like he's got the voice, right? But Darkseid's going to be probably more of a CGI character if we ever see him in this in a movie, and so it would almost be kind of a waste because we wouldn't actually see him as the character. He's got a great voice though. His voice would be tremendous in that. Jason says, "LOL, you got big guts to say that about Man of Steel. Caleb says, I love Man of Steel, but they just got Jonathan Kent completely wrong, in my opinion. So I don't think that they got. I understood what Jonathan was saying to him, but I understand the controversy because I did think that they took it a little too far where Jonathan Kent said, like, yeah, let them die. Where I don't think Jonathan Kent would say that, but I think this Jonathan Kent. I mean, we've been rewatching Smallville
with the kids,
right?
This is their first time through.
So,
the
and
first
we
10
are
seasons.
we are almost to season 5 of Smallville, and honestly, that's kind of Jonathan Kent's thing. At least on Smallville, at least. I mean, Jonathan on Smallville, played by John Schneider, he's kind of that way on Smallville, where like he doesn't want Clark to do anything. He doesn't want.
Don't play football. Don't go saving people. Don't get in the way of possibly people knowing your secret and stay out of the caves.
Yeah, it takes like 4 years for him to even acknowledge and say like go help somebody. It's like he doesn't want him to help anybody. He doesn't want him to because he's scared that
someone's gonna find out and take him away.
Someone's gonna find out and take him away. So I get that. The one part about Man of Steel I did not like how Jonathan died. Because Jonathan should not have died in a tornado like that. That was dumb. That Clark could have run and saved him, and nobody would have even seen, whatever. So that was dumb to me. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Caleb. The death scene there, because I always loved the fact that Jonathan Kent died of a heart attack or heart-related issues.
Something that Superman could not control or help or fix.
Exactly. With all of his, because I love that scene in Superman the movie, where Clark is talking to his mom and he says all these powers, and I couldn't save him.
Yep.
And that's the whole point. Is not that he just chose not to save him.
He couldn't.
He couldn't. Because Superman can't do
There's no
everything.
superpowers that could stop a heart attack.
Which is funny because for the most part, as much as Man of Steel is all about that, right? About showing his flaws and like what he can't do, that's the one part they got wrong. Like that's one of the parts that they got wrong. So I agree on that part for sure. I mean, it's not a perfect movie, by all means. It's not a perfect movie, but hey, don't mess with the S. I mean, my son's middle name is Jor-El, if that tells you anything. So I mean, I love the Krypton scene and stuff, but they did a great job with this Aquaman movie, and I really enjoy this. I enjoyed it.
Oh, I loved it.
Seen it twice now, and I think that if they continue in this vein of getting positive
Feedback?
reviews and feedback on these movies. They just finished shooting Wonder Woman 84. So if Wonder Woman 2 is good and Shazam is as good as it looks, man, I think we're on the right track. Now, what I really hope doesn't happen is that we get this really great Aquaman movie. We get 2 really good Wonder Woman movies. We get the Shazam movie, and then all of a sudden DC pulls the plug on it and says we're not going to continue with this cinematic universe. I think that there's still a lot there to explore, and I really hope that they don't drop Batman and Superman from that. I've kind of gotten to a point where I could accept losing Ben Affleck. I don't want to lose Ben Affleck because I think Ben has been awesome as Batman. I mean, I think
he's the epitome of Batman and what he should be.
He's blown us away, and he's turned a lot of naysayers the other way. But we can't lose Henry. We just can't. Nobody else is going to do a better job than what Henry's done. And I'll tell you this: if they write a Superman movie the right way, I can accept the fact that the movies that have come now have been the lead up to Superman becoming Superman. But at the end of Justice League, I think we all agree he's
oh yeah,
he's finally
next
Superman.
level, yeah.
Right? He's finally Superman. Bring him back. Let Henry Cavill do another Superman movie. Caleb says, ironically, for the first time, I felt that they got Jor-El right. I didn't see Jor-El, at least in the latter season. I like that they were going with the reimagined dictator Jor-El. Yeah, no, on Smallville, yeah. That was kind of a bait and switch thing though for like the whole series almost. Was that they made Jor-El kind of look like a jerk throughout the whole thing. And then kind of at the end, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, he wasn't such a bad guy after all. But like, there's a lot, especially in the first 4 seasons that we've been watching. As soon as they introduced Jor-El, really.
Well, that's why Clark doesn't want to have anything to do with him, because he's like, you're a jerk. You're trying to take me away. You're trying to do all this stuff, and I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah. But that came around full circle at the end. Let's see. Guardian says, I have no issues with the destruction in Man of Steel. It's freaking Superman. There's going to be major collateral damage when he throws down. Absolutely. I totally agree with you there. Who said that? Guardian for sure. People who say that, go watch the first Avengers movie. Half of New York gets destroyed, but nobody says anything about that. And there's like, what, 6 of them that could try. Everybody's like, well, Superman would have taken the battle away from Metropolis. Here's the thing. You can't always do that. He
still would have gone to another city, and it still would have been there.
He's one guy, right? And at that point, I would even argue that he's not fully Superman. That's his first day or 2 on the job. You know, he doesn't, you know, and then everybody talks about, you know, of course, the controversial neck snapping. But that's happened in the comics. It's not like it's something new. I think
he fought it. He told him, don't do this. He warned him.
Yeah.
He didn't want to do it. And then it showed the scream at the end, like because he didn't want to deal with it.
I didn't
want to have to do this.
I find it interesting that every time somebody complains about something that is actually in the comics. He's killed Zod in the comics. I have a friend that I almost lost as a friend over Batman because he would not see Batman versus Superman because Batman used a gun and Batman killed. But here's the thing, Caleb. Yep, Superman doesn't have a no-kill rule. That's Batman. But even Batman, here's the thing. This guy told me that he would not watch Batman versus Superman because Batman killed somebody in Batman versus Superman. He used the gun and, you know, the guns and stuff of the guys. First of all, that fight scene in the warehouse in Batman versus Superman, one of the best Batman scenes ever filmed. But I asked him flat out, I said, so what about the machine guns in the Tim Burton Batmobile? Like, you're going to act like those didn't exist? I know that you like that movie, right? So, like, what's the deal? Like, what's the difference? And then at the beginning of Batman Returns, when Batman goes and he's fighting all of Penguin's circus clown people, whatever, and there's the big guy there, and Batman takes the bomb off of one guy, stuffs it down the pants of the big guy, and throws him over the thing into the sewer system, and it explodes right away. Do you think that guy got up and walked away?
I think he was half the man he used to be.
I mean, you know, the thing is like, yes, as a rule, we've kind of said Batman doesn't kill, and he tries to do that, but there have been many exceptions to that rule over time. That if we're going to be honest,
the Dark Knight, not the good.
Yeah, if we're going to be honest, you know, that's what happens. Let's see. Caleb's still talking about Smallville. When Clark finds the pod and it says he's meant to rule Earth was just crazy, and I really liked it. Then they eventually just dropped that plot line, and I hated that. Yeah. That one kind of disappeared fast, didn't it? We were just talking about that too because we've been watching it, and yeah, that one kind of went up and away real quick.
Explained it through the caves or something.
Yep. Jason says the human side of the Superman stories were always the best parts. The rest is just too unbelievable. Who's ever heard of a successful newspaper? Different time. That was actually one of the things I liked how Perry White said that in Batman versus Superman, where he tells him, he's like, "This isn't 1938, Kent.
Yeah.
This is, you know, I mean, and so I mean, there's still newspapers like New York Post. The Detroit Free Press, here in Michigan, and then also the Wall Street Journal. So there are still things like that where there are newspapers that are still relevant. They're few and far between. It's not like
not like it used to be.
Years past where newspapers were where people got their news, but. There are some that have changed. So I get the joke though. That's funny. That's funny. But yeah, I've always liked the more human side of the Superman mythos. Christopher Reeve threw Zod down into an icy grave. Absolutely. Absolutely, Guardian. Superman represents the military. Batman represents the police. That's an interesting way of looking at that. I never really thought of it like that, or at least ideal versions of them. That's a really good
idea.
that's a really good thought there. I never really thought of that. Jay Plays, what's up, Jay Plays from California? Good to have you with us. He could have survived if he had a very reinforced underwear. Back to the underwear thing. Oh, that's funny.
Maybe it was an Everlast.
And Jason, you're right. Superman is the original comic OG, original god of comics.
Nice.
Yes. You know, it all goes back to Superman, right? And so, I think that sometimes people are really too quick to judge Superman. You know, but I think if you have a strong Superman that you can build this universe around, it's a good thing. And I don't think that now is the time to start over.
And now he's seeing Aquaman kick butt. It's like you're seeing just even like the lesser known people just rising up and just.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with it.
Yeah. But I still say firmly that Warner Brothers needs to make a sequel to Man of Steel that shows Superman in his prime, in his full potential as Superman, and I would love to see Brainiac.
Oh heck yeah!
I'd love to finally see Brainiac. Caleb, you've had a lot of problems with that, haven't you, man? I'm so sorry to hear that, man. I don't know what you're typing, dude. Literally, I don't know what you're typing, but yeah, I mean, you know, Superman is truth, justice, and the American way. And you know what? And he's all of the good things about that. He is the ideal. Where people say, "Oh, he's overpowered," or he's too much, whatever. He is the ideal of what we want to be, right? Even if when people use that American way term, and like a lot of times nowadays it gets used in a negative way, with a lot of politics and stuff like that. It's not about that. It's not about this, like, and I know we have a lot of viewers from all around the world. It's not this thing of like America's just better than everybody else. I'm an American, and I love being American. And I'm just telling you, I wouldn't want to be anything else. But I know that there are people in other parts of the world that you are from there, and you wouldn't want to be anything else either, right? So it's cultural. It's where you're from. Superman was raised in America, and but there's great Elseworld stories like Red Sun, where he's raised in Russia, and just kind of what those things do and the outcomes that they have. But at its heart, America is the great melting pot. It's a great place where everybody should, it doesn't always happen, but where everybody should be equal. Everybody should have an equal footing and have the same opportunities to be able to accomplish whatever they want to accomplish, however they want to do that, and be the best that they can be. And those are the kind of ideals. When I hear truth, justice, and the American way, when I hear that American way part, that's what I think of, is that America is that place where anybody can accomplish anything, right? It's the great hope. Fight for the rights of every man. Now you're getting into Hulk Hogan territory, right? Superman's greatest enemy, deciding between red fruit of the looms or Hanes. Yeah, personally, I go with the fruit of the loom. They're just a little bit better in that regard. But the problem is the Superman doesn't have that little flap for emergencies, right? So you still got to pull it all down. Caleb, I was just saying Superman is relatable, more relatable in my opinion than Batman. Batman is a peak human condition billionaire, while Clark is a normal guy, an alien human, normal guy, but still. I agree with that, Caleb. I fully agree with that. Clark is more human, and it comes out a lot of times, right? And for the Star Trek comment earlier, like Spock was very human, even though the fact that he was a Vulcan. That famous line that Kirk says, you know, in the end of Wrath of Khan, he says, you know, in all my encounters with beings from all over, his was the most human. And I see Superman that way too. Absolutely, Caleb. That Superman has that kind of thing about he wants to be human. He loves
Sympathy, empathy.
yeah, he loves his human side.
Yes.
You know.
And he embraces it.
Yeah, and he's more that than Kryptonian. Because of his upbringing here on Earth. And I agree with you. Batman, I can't relate with Batman. Can you relate with Batman? I mean, Batman is a billionaire. I am not. I wish I was. If I was, then I wouldn't have a phone that kept falling. I'd have better equipment, and we'd be all like some state-of-the-art background here right now. Because I still can't do green screen live. One day we'll get there. I can do, but I like doing these live things. So when we do these live things, it's just our living room for right now. I know there's cool people out there who've got the technology, but we just don't have it yet. So, but yeah, no, I
think we're not cute.
We'll get there one day. But you know, but that's the thing is yeah, Batman. I like watching Batman for what he is, but a lot of times I think Batman. People talk about Superman being written as too perfect. But Batman, you know, this whole thing of like Batman always has a contingency plan, no matter what. You know, I have a friend that like we were talking about that. Same friend that I almost lost over the whole Batman versus Superman thing. And he was talking about, oh, Batman always has a contingency plan. It's like, but you can't say that. You can't just say that a dude is just like perfect. Like Batman's never going to make a mistake. Batman's never going to mess up. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, does it? You know, that doesn't make any sense. Only Elon Musk can relate to Batman. And something tells me it wouldn't surprise me if Elon Musk was out there in his underoos fighting crime at night. Caleb says, I find that the DC villains reflect their heroes. The Joker reflects Batman's own mental instability. Lex reflects the inverse of Superman's humanity. Wow. Caleb, I like you. That's all I got to say. I like Caleb. I mean, that hits the nail right there on the head. So that's just great. See here, Jason says Batman, Superman, and Lobo were what I read DC wise. Great characters. We're getting ready to get Lobo on. Is it Supergirl that we're getting Lobo on?
I can't remember. We got to catch up.
We're getting Lobo in something here coming up. I thought it was Supergirl. I don't know. I'll have to check that. Guardian says his humanity is what makes him Superman. That moral compass makes him the hero he is. Absolutely, Guardian. Absolutely. And then Caleb says, I can still relate to Batman and his stories as I myself deal with mental illness. Oh, that's right. Lobo, is it Krypton that Lobo's coming to, Caleb? Okay. You know what? Caleb, you know, I feel for you there because my mother had mental issues and she dealt with that her whole life. And, you know, I applaud anybody who is able to fight through that and to make their best life even with those issues and do what it takes to take care of yourself and to take care of the others around you. And it's important. You know, we have to take care of ourselves, and it's good when we can understand our own weaknesses, you know, and live through those and rise above those. So I applaud you, Caleb, for sure, man. That's great. That's great. And I'm sorry that you have to deal with that, but I'm proud of you for making the best of it and for not letting it keep you down, man. That's awesome. Well, so the end was awesome. I would have liked to have had a little bit more at the end of Aquaman.
What do you mean more?
Like some kind of continuation. I mean, we got the Black Manta thing, but that was cool that he got picked up, and we see that I can't think of, Caleb's gonna know it, but I can't think of the guy's name right now. Don't have it in front of me. The Asian doctor, who actually in the comics was actually a friend to Aquaman until Aquaman would not tell him where Atlanta was. No, I'm not gonna tell you where Atlanta is. I will not tell you it's in Georgia. I will. Oh man, you got me. No, he won't tell him that where Atlantis is, and so in the comics, he then of course turns his back on Aquaman and then becomes an enemy to Aquaman. So obviously we're not going to get that part of the story, but he's right off the bat he's looking for Atlantis, trying to track it down.
He's the one that's trying to be like the man, like, no, there's something going on here, so.
Yeah. So I kind of like that team up at the end. You dig that? Mm-hmm. What did you think of Black Manta in general?
It could have been fleshed out a little bit more, I think. But you only had so much time in the movie to do that because this was more Aquaman's movie than Black Manta. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, it showed how he was angry because of his father, how he made his own suit and got the tech from the Atlanteans.
Smart guy.
Yeah, very smart guy, but it also, when he was trying to fight him and it was like the fight scene was just kind of cut short and then it was like, now we saw him at the end. So, I mean, maybe they'll bring more of that back, and maybe that's where Orm is gonna, go against him with Black Manta, or he's gonna fight with him. So, I just think that there could have been just a little bit more, but I'm fine without it too.
Yeah, for sure. It was good. It was really good. So guys, I would tell you this: if you've stuck with this video to this point and you haven't seen Aquaman,
go see it.
Go see Aquaman. See it in the theater.
Yes.
Too. If you can see it in the theater, go see it in the theater because it's a great movie.
It is.
It really is a great movie, and well deserving of being seen in the theater.
Yes.
So go see it. Tiffany, on a scale, we're gonna go 1 to 10 because that's what we've been doing lately. On a scale of 1 to 10, what would you give Aquaman?
I would give Aquaman an 8.5.
Okay.
And the only reason I would do that is because of, some of the storyline, the animation with Jango Fett, just the little things that kind of add up. But by far, one of my favorite, superhero movies. I love Jason Momoa. I thought he was an awesome portrayal as Aquaman. I loved Mira. I loved all of them. I love the de-aging technology, but it was just those little things here and there. Probably more of an 8.5, 9, but it's up there because I want to own this. It was 2 minutes in and I'm like, okay, we got to own this.
Yes. I would give it a 9. Just because of the de-aging thing and a couple of the effects things. And that's it. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. And
it was the little things that didn't take away from the entirety of the movie for me.
Yeah, it was a really great movie. What did you guys think? What would you guys give this on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm curious as to what you guys thought of this movie. You guys are all saying that you're speaking about it pretty positively, but I think that speaks volumes is the people who go see these movies, right? What do they think of those movies? Because the critics, I give up on listening to critics.
Yeah.
Critics don't know.
If they like it, we don't. If they don't, we do.
Critics don't know what they're talking about most of the time, and they don't like stuff that I like. And I'll tell you what, I mentioned this before, but I was watching Collider's version of this where they just sat around talking about the movie and whatnot. And Perry Nemiroff, for those of you who know her, she's a critic. She made a comment. She goes, "I watched this movie and I didn't laugh one time at this movie."
Bullcrap. And
to me, I wanted to post in the comments. And I did, and I rarely will post something, especially if it's a negative thing. I'll post positive things, but if I have something negative to say, I rarely post it. But I posted, I said, I think that's more of a testament about you than it is this movie. Because the movie was funny, and the jokes were funny. And if you're sitting there saying in a snooty way, I didn't laugh once at this movie, that's more on you. Because it just shows that I hate to say it, but I don't think you're much of a happy person if you just can't enjoy some of the jokes and some of the humor in this movie. Because I understand everybody's humor, it's subjective, right? I get all that. But man, to snootily say, yeah, I didn't like any of the humor, I didn't laugh once. And then like some Dennis Zen said something about he chuckled once. And that was over the peeing on the thing joke, that was in the trailer or whatever. That was it. There's so much more in that movie, and I think we all agree. And it looks like we got some stuff here. Guardian says, gotta go. Good night. Yep, we're getting ready to get out of here in just a second, Guardian. Caleb says, I don't give scores. I find that hard to do. Guardian says 9.5. All right. Jason says, okay, so it was fun with good special effects, but did it make you feel? Yes. You know, like hope and despair, like Wonder Woman. Yes, it did make me feel. It made me feel really good. I really enjoyed this movie. There were times where I kind of welled up when it had to do with his mom and his life and everything. I loved it. Ghoul Girl says 10 out of 10. So there you go,
Nice.
guys. I think the consensus is this is a great movie. Jason, you're
10
gonna.
out of 10 though. Is she talking about the movie or Jason Momoa?
Jason, I think you're going to like this movie, man.
Yes.
Go see
Go
this movie
see it.
for sure. Thank you guys for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. Anytime you guys step into our home and enjoy the things that we enjoy. And thanks for talking with us. Thanks for everybody. Caleb says, I will say that I loved it. He won't give a number, but he'll say that he loved it.
That's good enough for us.
Good enough for me, man. So here's the thing. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Tomorrow night, we will be back talking about Bumblebee, because I got a lot to say about Bumblebee. And if you want to know anything about what I felt about Bumblebee, go find our trailer review, our trailer reaction video.
It was that kind of emotion.
And
in
watch
the
that.
theater.
And also, we are less than 50 people away from 5,000 subscribers. Please go, if you have not yet already, hit that subscribe button and notifications so that you know when we do things like this. And then also, once we hit 5,000, we got a big giveaway. And what is that giveaway, Tiff?
It's me.
It's.
I mean,
what?
Well, it is, but it's not. It's not me personally. I'm only his. But
Yes, I made a custom Grand Tiff. She goes by the name Grand Tiff Tarkin here on the Poindexter Lounge, and so I made a custom figure for her from Star Wars, and you can win one of those once we hit 5,000 subscribers. But you got to be subscribed. All right. Thanks, guys, so much for joining us. We will see you tomorrow night. Until next time, I'm Enosh, aka Enosh Fett, along with the lovely
Tiff-tastic or Grand Tiff Tarkin.
All right, and my man, keep it coming. All right, bye-bye.